Alright guys, welcome back. So today we are going to be talking about the IWI Tavor, going over some of its pros and cons, some of my likes and dislikes, stuff like that. We'll break it down, show you guys how to field strip it and all that. But this is a rifle that is borrowed from a buddy of mine. He bought it brand new, brought it to me and said, here, shoot it, do some videos with it, see how you like it, and all that. So thank you to him right off the bat. But the IWI Tavor, this is my first Bullpup 5.56 rifle that I've ever had any experience with, and I know it's not anything new to the market or anything new to YouTube for that matter, but it is new to me. So let's talk about it and go over kind of my experiences with it. But I did take it out to the range and put it through its paces on several different occasions. And right off the bat, this thing was 100% reliable. Didn't have any issues with it. But it is, I guess, a lot different than the ARs that I am used to. A different feel, different operating mechanism, and all that. But just kind of on the outside, you can see that this one is in the flat dark earth finish. It comes in black and possibly an OD green. I'm not sure on that. I know for sure black and this flat dark earth here. And in my opinion, this flat dark earth just looks awesome. But on the outside, as you can see, all of the stuff that is normally up in front of the trigger on your standard AR-15, if that's what you're used to, is now all pushed to the back. And so it gives it kind of a different feel, a different balance, a different weight even, if you will. But you got the grip and the trigger up front. You do have your safety on the left side. It is not ambidextrous. I'm not real sure if this can be switched over for you left-handed shooters, or if they have ambi safeties available or not. But the controls are on the left side. The charging handle is up here on the left side as well. And again, I'm not sure if that can be swapped over to the other side, but it very well may be able to do that. Across the top, you are going to have a nice pick rail all the way across the top that you can put any types of scopes or red dots or whatever you want to. And the iron sights are actually integrated into the rail. So you can just pull up the rear sight and pull up the front sight, and you're all set up with irons ready to go out of the box. Now, when he first brought this rifle to me, I was like, crap, I gotta buy sights for it before I can take it out and shoot it. But then quickly realized that they are in the pick rail on the top, which is nice. If you're gonna run a red dot on it, you can just flip these things down out of the way. They're nowhere in the way or anything like that. So it is nice that they kind of stow right out of the way if you don't want them, but you can flip them up very easily if you do want them. Now, they're not locked in the up or down position, so if you do hit these on something, they can be knocked down. So I guess it has its pros and cons to having them built into the top rail like it is here. But they work. I just used the iron sights when I took it out to the range the times that I did, and they worked. They were on, and very easy to use. You just have a peep sight here in the back with a blade or a post up here in the front, and it looks like it takes just your standard AR-15 front sight tool to adjust this as well. So pretty cool feature having it built into the top pick rail. As far as like the ergonomics go, like I mentioned, it is much different than what I'm used to with your standard AR-15s. It has a completely different feel to it. Now, when I first grabbed the rifle and started messing around with it, it felt heavy. And I don't know if it's just because the weight is in different spots, but it just felt kind of overly heavy for some reason. But after I used it and took it out, and that kind of went away. That was just sort of an initial thought, I guess. But the weight's definitely in different spots if you're used to running AR-15s. More of the weight is towards the back, especially when you have a full 30-round magazine in it. So it's not real front heavy. So if you have a smaller person or someone who doesn't have a lot of upper body strength, this might be a good rifle to get for them because it is more balanced. It's not real front heavy, so you can hold it out for longer periods of times without getting any type of fatigue or anything like that. So it is a very ergonomic rifle. It fits good, it feels good, and the weight is towards the back, so it has a good balance to it, and you could hold it for extended amount of time. So as far as ergonomics go, I think it's really great. As far as comfort goes while shooting it, it does have this nice padded butt pad here in the back, real nice and thick. And even though 5.56 doesn't have a whole bunch of recoil to begin with, it is nice to have a padded butt pad on it just for a little bit of added comfort. The cheek weld is nice when you have the iron sights up. The cheek weld on it, you can get right on the irons without any issues. You do have to kind of crunch down maybe just a little bit to get on the irons, but nothing too drastic. It is very easy to use, very easy to get onto the iron sights, so definitely not an issue there. The controls on this thing are a little bit different. Right here in front of the magazine, you are going to see this little lever here, and that is your magazine release. And I thought that was a little funny at first. Thought it was a little odd and awkward, but actually it's pretty neat, because they say you're shooting the rifle and you look over, you can see that you run dry, you're ready for a new magazine. All you got to do is push your hand back and hit that, and it drops the magazine right out. So that is a pretty neat spot to have it. You can just shoot, you're empty, pop your hand back, your magazine comes right out. So the magazine release is in a good spot. I like where it is, and if you don't want to do that, you can just come up, grab it with your finger, grab the magazine, pull it out. You can do it that way as well if you want to do it like that. So either way you want to run it, you can reach up, strip it out like that, or you can just push your hand back and it will pop it right out. So the magazine release is pretty neat. Now, the bolt release is right back here, and this little lever right here on the back. So say you want to put a mag in and you don't want to run the charging handle, all you got to do, pop the magazine in, hit the button, and load the magazine. So it is a pretty quick setup. Drop the magazine quick, put it in, hit the button, and get right back to it. Now, if you're not the bolt release type person, you can reach up and use the charging handle to rack it. And the charging handle is very easy to use. It's not like real stiff or anything like the, what was that other Bullpup little thing? It was a little 45 pistol. God, I can't remember. Oh, the Chris Vector. The charging handle on that thing was actually really hard to use. The side charging handle is similar to this one, but it's nothing like that. It is very easy to get up there and run it. So as far as operation goes, it works really, really well. Let's see, what else? I guess we can go ahead and break the rifle down. Now, when you go to break this thing down, you want to make sure that you do have the rifle cocked, and we're going to go ahead and take the magazine out. Check to make sure that the thing is safe and empty, and it is. And to break this thing down, you're going to have more or less just 3 pins. And you're going to have a pin right here in the back on the top towards the buttstock, and that's going to release your bolt and recoil spring and all that assembly from in there. And then you're going to have these 2 here, which is going to drop your trigger pack out. So we'll go ahead and start with the butt pad pin. We're going to go ahead and push it out, and I don't know if that's the technical name for it, but that's what we're going to call it. Just push it all the way through. And this is going to be under spring tension, so it's going to want to pop back. But these pins are captive, so you can pull them all the way back until they stop, and they're not going to come all the way out. Then your butt pad will hinge down, and then you can pull out your bolt and your recoil assembly and all that stuff, which is right here. Now you can take the pin out and pull your bolt out, but you're not going to want to go any farther than that. IWI actually says if you need to go any farther than that, you need to send it in. I guess it gets kind of complicated if you take this thing apart. Is it doable? I'm sure it is, but they recommend not doing that. So if you're going to take it apart, just take the bolt out, and you don't need to go any farther than that. But that pops that out, so you can do any type of cleaning or maintenance or lubing or whatever you need to the bolt and the springs and all that. So now with that out of the way, we're left with these 2 pins right here. And again, we're going to push them from the right side to the left. And then again, just pull them all the way to the left side until they stop. They are captive again, so they're not going to come all the way out. With that out of the way, this little door is going to come up, and then you can just kind of reach in and pull your trigger pack out. Now, I've watched some other videos on this, and some people's just fall right out, and some people's you got to dig them out. This one doesn't really want to fall out, but you can just reach in there and pull your trigger pack out just like that. Now you want to be careful. Do not drop the hammer while this thing is out, because it can cause damage to the housing and all that. So just be careful with it when you have it out, and don't let that thing come forward. But this is a plastic housing with metal internals, and so you just want to be careful with that, because it can be fragile if you let this hammer go forward. So if you want to do any type of trigger upgrades or anything like that, you want to drop a Geisley or a Timney trigger down in it, this is very easy to do. Pop 2 pins out, pop this one out, put the new one in, pop the pins back in, and you're done. So a very quick and easy trigger pack, trigger system to work on. And again, to put it back together, just drop your trigger pack down in, let the door close, push your pins back in, and the trigger's back in and ready to go. To put the recoil spring and your bolt and all that stuff back in, just reverse the order, put it back in. Gotta wait. If your pin goes back through, you gotta make sure that comes back out. But just go ahead and drop that back down in, just like that. Close your door up, push your pin back through, and it's back together. So very easy to take down for any type of cleaning or lubrication or any type of maintenance that you need to do. And then of course, make sure everything works, do a function test, and just make sure everything is working. So now that we got that out of the way, I guess we can go over some of the things that that I don't really like about the rifle. And the first thing we'll talk about, since we haven't even touched on this one yet anyhow, is the trigger. It is a very usable trigger, and when you're just dry firing it and messing around with it, it feels worse than it really is. But out of the range, it was okay. I mean, it's a very usable trigger, but it is heavy, and it doesn't have the smoothest pull, I guess you could say. So you got a little bit of sponginess and then a heavy break. And I'm saying it's probably, man, I put this on my trigger gauge and I can't remember exactly what it was. I'll leave an annotation to give you exact numbers, but I think it was in the 10 to 11 pound range or something like that. It was pretty heavy. And so yeah, it's spongy, heavy. The reset, I don't know if you can hear it. It does have a nice audible reset, and it is pretty short. So the reset's not too bad, but it is a spongy, heavy trigger. But again, very usable. And this is a military-style gun, so it's got a military-style trigger in it. So it's not going to have any type of match-grade trigger or anything like that. It has a nice, usable military-style trigger, but it is mushy, spongy, and it is heavy. So the trigger, I'm not a biggest fan of, but you can get aftermarket triggers. I know probably the most popular one is the Geisley, I guess I don't know the technical name for it. I think it's like the Super Tavor trigger or something like that. But a lot of people go with that, but it is pricey. You know, it's several $100s for that trigger. But if you want a nice trigger in it, that's an excellent way to go. I've seen tons of videos on it. Lots of people really, really like it. So that is a kind of a downfall, in my opinion, with the rifle so far. Another thing is when you take it out and you shoot, say you put 100 rounds through it pretty quickly, the rifle does get pretty hot, and it stays hot for quite a while. And even the plastics on the handguards up front here get pretty hot, but there's a screw right here on the front. And if you like to run it with a thumbs forward type of grip and you touch that screw when the rifle is hot, it's going to burn you. And if you reach back here and hold it back here and you reach up and touch this little QD socket here on the side, which is also metal, it's going to burn you. So you do have some points where when the rifle gets hot, it is going to be very hot and it's going to burn you. So I guess that's kind of a downfall. I just trying to point things out that I noticed when I was out at the range. But the rifle does get hot, stays hot for extended times, and you do have some metal parts on here where you're supposed to put your hand that can burn you. So if you're going to put a bunch of rounds through it, if you're taking it to a class, maybe just throw on a pair of gloves, and then you'll be set to go. You won't get burnt or anything like that. But anyhow, guys, just wanted to kind of share my thoughts and opinions on the IWI Tavor. And like I said, this was my first experience with a bullpup style rifle like this in 5.56. And overall, I gotta say that I really do like the Tavor. I do like the bullpup. It is nice and compact, which is kind of the biggest appeal for it. And actually, I've got a 16-inch gun, standard rifle, and we'll go ahead and we'll try to maybe put these together and kind of compare the lengths. But as you can see, the Tavor rifle stops right here, and then you got all this out front of the like for a 16-inch gun. So this is with the stock fully collapsed on a 16-inch gun, so you can see you're a good 6 inches or so shorter, and you still have your 16-inch barrel, so you don't have to do any types of paperwork or anything like that to do an SBR. You can just have a nice 16-inch gun with a very short overall package, and that's where this thing is really going to shine. But like I said, overall this thing was 100% reliable, no issues whatsoever. It's ergonomic, it has good balance to it with the weight being in the back. The controls are going to be different, of course, like I said, if you're used to an AR, but once you get out to the range and use them and figure out how they work together, it actually is pretty quick to get magazines out, new magazines in, stuff like that. So yeah, overall I really do like the Tavor, especially in the FDE. I think it looks really awesome. Now they do have a newer model, I think it's called the X95, and so it has some different upgrades to it. The magazine release is a little bit different, so if you do like the standard push button with your finger style magazine release, I do think the new X95 has it. But this standard Tavor with everything that it has to offer, I think it's a great option. Again, especially if you're a person with not a lot of upper body strength, or you're a smaller person and you don't want a big front heavy rifle, I think this is a good rifle, a good option to look at. But anyhow, guys, that's sort of my thoughts and opinions, my likes and dislikes and stuff of the IWI Tavor, and I really hope you guys enjoyed the video. And if you have any questions or comments, or if you have one of these and want to share your experiences with it, definitely let us know all that down in the comment section below. And before you take off, make sure you do check the description box. I have links to channel sponsors and social media links and pretty much anybody who's ever helped out the channel in the past, so always check that out before you take off. And as always, I appreciate each and every one of you guys watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.